Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org for more info, or you can always email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Iris Douglas. And we're going to be discussing her amazing book, Let Me Stay, a memoir. Now, it's available for purchase through Amazon as well as barnesandnoble.com. But people, if you happen to be in the Connecticut area, specifically Madison, Connecticut, you can also check out R.J. Julia Bookstore. It's available for purchase there as well. But for everybody else, Amazon and Barnes & Noble, you can do no better. And I will say that Iris was brought to our network, People of Distinction, today by some of the best publishers in the business, Orion Press. So if you or anyone you know have a book that they'd like moved, contact the fantastic team at Orion Press and have them move it for you. You can find out more information on them at orionpressbooks.com. And listen, it is an absolute pleasure to have Iris here on the line. Now, right there in the title, or technically in the subtitle, it gives you all you need to know. This is a memoir, okay? And people, you know, I've mentioned this a number of times in the past. I often love to have authors on my network, and not only just authors, but authors of memoirs, because there's so much to be gained once they're on here, right? And listen, I'm probably speaking to the choir here, but we know that after a certain amount of time, right, once you reach a certain age, you start to realize adversity is just part of the game, okay? And as much as we'd like to avoid some of those challenges we come across in our day-to-day lives, we really shouldn't, right? Because we know that through those experiences, wisdom is gained, and it prepares us for the life ahead. Well, what if I told you that it doesn't always have to be your particular experience that wisdom derives from? Okay, and that is really why I'm looking forward to this, because we're going to be able to learn from Iris's experience. We're going to be able to learn from her background and her journey and utilize the wisdom found on the pages in her book, and we can implement that into our day-to-day lives. Okay, now, after speaking with Iris and doing some research on her book, preparing for today's interview, you know, it came across that this book was really written to portray the beauty of growing up in Ireland. And listen, just a side note, I've always wanted to visit, haven't had the opportunity, but I'll definitely check it out because I think there's something to be gained about the peacefulness of just being in nature and being away from all of the technology and electronics and just being on a countryside and hanging out with some people. I just want to go to a pub in Ireland and just have a beer with the locals, right? There's something about that seems so serene, right? And so beautiful. And, you know, that's my own personal thing. But also, Iris will tell you that growing up there, it's given her an inner strength that she's been able to utilize in her life. And she's wanting to utilize that and really showcase that in her book to express the importance of community and nature and really help inspire her readers to look at the silver lining in every situation, good or bad. And people, I'm right there with it, okay? I'm right there with her because I know that a lot of times growing up when I was younger, and I'll be the first to admit it. When I was younger, it was definitely a thing where I had to fake it until I made it. But I knew very early on that if I were to shift my perception, even in the most dire situation, that there was always a silver lining. Even though it may seem very negative and very dark in the moment, you can find the silver lining. You can find the good in that situation, and it can really help illuminate the path ahead. And at the end of the day, that's all I'm going to say on it. Okay, Iris is the expert. She's written the book. She's lived the life. And she's going to be able to articulate everything much better than I ever could. So let's bring her here on the line with us, okay? Iris, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest. How are you doing today?
Very well, thank you. And thank you for asking me to be here.
Absolutely. Listen, the pleasure is all ours. And I truly meant what I said in the intro. When it comes to memoirs, I think that there is so much wisdom to be gained, and you are the absolute perfect embodiment of a person of distinction, and it truly is a pleasure to have you as a guest here. Now, Iris, I know we have a lot of information to cover pertaining to the book, but let's jump right in. And first and foremost, I want to learn about your background as a writer. When did you first realize that you wanted to be one?
Well, to be honest, I never saw myself as a writer per se. But during that first bout of COVID, you remember when we were all locked, there was a
Oh, yeah,
lockdown, we were all stuck
absolutely.
inside, and we had nothing to do but think, basically. And my thoughts kind of turned inward, um, and memories of my past and my childhood started coming to the forefront, which you don't tend to do when you're running around frantically trying to deal with everything that the outside world demands of you. So I started thinking of all these memories and how beautiful they were. And I said, well, let me write some of them. So I
Mhm.
started writing some of them down. And then I thought, oh, I'll put it all together and maybe put it into a book. And I know my nieces in Ireland would love to read about what my childhood was like compared to theirs. So I did it. I put it in a book, and it came into being, and there it is. I guess I'm a writer.
There you have it. Now, Iris, a fantastic segue that you've established because I believe we started to go into this already. But the next place that I wanted to go was inspiration pertaining to this book. What inspired you to write this particular narrative?
Um, Actually, well, I had such a happy childhood, and I feel so blessed that I've had such a happy childhood. Growing up in Ireland was the most wonderful thing. It's so different from being here, and of course, at the time when I grew up, it was even more different. It's changed a little bit since then. But being in the community that I was in, like it was a farming community. My father was a farmer. Almost everyone around me were farmers, and the just watching these people work so hard.
Hmm.
Farming is a very tough life, especially in the winter, with all the elements, the wind and the rain and snow and everything. But these people just work really, really hard and had a humility about it and never complained about it. Um, and I feel that they, in a way, were my mentors without me even knowing it
Hmm.
as a child. But watching them and being fascinated by them, and then also the characters in Ireland, the ones who make you laugh, the storytellers, the strange people, and wonderful people. I think I was just blessed to be have all those people around me, and they influenced my life greatly without me even knowing it at the time. And to think back on that, I just feel very blessed, and that's what inspired me to write the book.
Fantastic. Moving
Yeah.
right along here, Iris, when it comes to a key theme or a message that you're wanting to portray to your readers, what would you say that is?
I would say take life as it comes. Life comes with very
Hmm.
good things, which are wonderful. Life comes with things we have no control over whatsoever, but we have to deal with them. And you can't cry over spilt milk. What happens, happens. And it's not the things that actually happened, it happens, it's the way you deal with the things that happen. And I have learned that from various observing various people and seeing how they handle it. And you just have to get on with life, and that's the message I have. And of course, being in a community and being close to nature, and keeping your memories alive too. Those are the
Absolutely.
messages I would like to get across to people.
People, again, we're here on the line with Iris Douglas. Now, we're discussing her fantastic book, Let Me Stay, a memoir. It's available for purchase through Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, or again, if you happen to be in Madison, Connecticut, head on over to RJ Julia Bookstore and pick up your copy there as well. Iris, next question that I'd love to get into, and, taking a step away from the book and focusing again more on your writing process, right, and writing background here. What would you say were some of the important things that you learned while creating this book?
I think I learned, as I said, I learned patience, which I don't have a lot of patience, but I learned to have a little bit more patience. Um, I learned to take life as it comes more. I learned to relax and to really listen, listen to nature, and to listen to my peers and to listen to myself as well. Um, and I think I just learned from many of the characters in the book the humility that people have when I was growing up, and the other thing was the honor that people had. The A promise was a promise. A deal was made with a handshake. There was no written contract signed.
Mm-hmm.
The deal was honored with a contract, and the promises were kept. And there was just a lot of honor in the world, and I think it's a very important thing that's, maybe I should say it, it's kind of disappearing
Oh yeah,
today
absolutely.
because of a lot of other things interfering with it. But that's mainly what I learned,
You know,
amongst other things.
listen, Iris, you hit the nail on the head there, and it's really unfortunate that times have shifted to the point where I agree with you. I think that that is something that is definitely, I wouldn't say that it's completely gone, but it has been severely, it is severely dissipated.
Hmm.
That's for sure. Okay.
Yeah,
And I'm right
yeah,
there with you.
yeah.
Curiosity for myself here, Iris, how long did it take you to write the book?
Well, as I said, I started writing it during that first COVID bout that we had. And I think it took me around 6 months to write it and put it all together, and then another year to have it published. So I would say about a year and a half or a little more to write the whole thing. So it wasn't such a long process, and it was
Mm-hmm.
an enjoyable one. So the time went quickly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And having a little fun here, right? Let's play in a hypothetical world here. Iris, are you happy with the final version of the book? Or if you could go back in time and redo it, would you make any changes?
I'm quite happy with the final version, but if I did make any changes, I would try to emphasize two things in particular more than I did in the book. And the first one is I would try to emphasize the importance of memory. And without memory, we are nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we're nobody without our memories, and whether they're good or bad memories. It's very important to keep those memories alive and to face them. Fortunately, in my situation, I had very happy memories, but some people I know have very unhappy memories and have suffered a lot, and maybe they've put all that in the background. But I think that if you bring them to the forefront and face them, no matter how painful they are, you can somehow gain more perspective on who you are today. Because who you are today is what has made you, is your memories and the things that have happened in the past. They make up who you are today. So I would try to
Absolutely.
emphasize a little bit more about memory. And the second thing, if I have time to say it, is the importance of being connected to nature. Be immersed in nature, to grow up amongst the fields, the woods, the trees, the mountains, to listen to nature, to listen to the wind blowing through the trees, to listen to the waves, to listen to the streams running by, and to just to work within nature. And I think it gives you a certain strength and a certain humility. And to have that respect for nature is so incredibly important. And it's important for the self as well, to be connected to that,
Mm-hmm.
rather than running around, as I said before, with all this social media and this, the stresses of everyday life.
Absolutely.
So
Listen,
yeah.
people, she just said so much within that final answer. And so many valuable pieces there that I just want to quickly touch up on and focus on. Right? When we're talking about perspective, I started off the interview by saying it may not be as easy in the moment. Believe me, I know I'm oversimplifying. And that's because for this instance, an oversimplification is what's necessary. But I promise you, no matter how dark a situation may be on the surface, there are always things to be gained. There are always lessons that can be learned. And as she stated, when we face them head on, and again, oversimplification is what's necessary here, because I understand that facing some of those dark things in our lives are not very easy, and we want to avoid them as much as possible. But people, there is strength in that to be found. There's wisdom in that to be found. And when we really focus on it, if we shift our perception, see past the pain, and by no means am I saying we forget it, right? We work through that. And working through that process is actually beneficial as well and in its own right. But there are things to be learned, there are things to be gained, and we can become better individuals and more knowledgeable individuals of ourselves once we recognize that. And once we face those things. So that in and of itself, I think, is a fantastic notion to be pulled. But then the second thing that she said is talking about the importance of nature. And people, my goodness. Listen, technology has advanced our society so much. But at the same time, it has become a severe detriment, I feel. When we look at the advancement of social media, as she stated as well, and the pressures that puts on individuals, teenagers especially, but even adults. It's very unfortunate that we have gotten to this point where technology has advanced us so far, but then also plateaued us in many ways. And I think that when we can kind of hit the reset button and we can get to a point where we put the phones away, and we just enjoy looking at the trees and feeling the wind and the breeze across our face. There is something that, again, as I stated when we first started, there's something that's so peaceful, something so serene, but also something that requires a lot of strength in order to be doing that. And I also want to put out the fact that, at least to our current understanding of humanity on a historical basis, human beings have been around for thousands of years. Technology, again, based upon our current understanding, and that, we can go down a rabbit hole with regards to that. This is not the platform for it. But technology is not. So if humanity has been around for such a long period of time, and technology has been around for, such a minuscule amount in comparison, not to say that we don't need it, but people, we don't need it, okay? And there is so much to be gained by, again, just getting immersed in nature, getting to know your community, getting to know your neighbors, and what can be developed and constructed from just a conversation, right? Not a digital one, but I'm looking at you right in the eyes and we're talking. There's so much to be gained there. I love what she's saying. And you know what I love even more is we're at the end of the interview now. We've discussed so much information pertaining to Iris's memoir, yet somehow we've barely scratched the surface. There's still so much to be gained. You know where you have to go. I'm going to say it for you again. I know I don't have to, but let's re-impress it once more. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, R.J. Julia Bookstore in Madison, Connecticut is where you have to go. Let Me Stay, a memoir, is the title you have to pick up, and Iris Douglas is the author you have to thank for bringing it to your table. You surely will not be disappointed. Pick up the book today. The wisdom found on its pages is second to none. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. And the holiday season is right around the corner, so listen, this is a fantastic gift to add to someone else's shelf. So you know where to go. Iris, this has been an absolute pleasure. Such an honor. Thank you once again for being a guest on People of Distinction.
Oh my gosh, you're brilliant. You did such an amazing job. Thank you so much. I'm so pleased with how you put the whole thing, and you completely understand what I was trying to get across. You're amazing. Thank you.